And like magic, here is everybody. Welcome everybody to this week number 5 of MTGO Masters. How are we all doing this week? I'm going to start with you, Carmen. How's your week been? How you been looking forward to this week?
I can't complain too awful much. I mean, I must ask you a question. What's with the stiff upper lip there?
Here we go. Come on. I'll take it. I'll take it. Too soon, but
Okay. I'll see you next week, or in 5 weeks is the top 8. I'll see you in 5 weeks and ask again.
Look, fighting talk. I like it. Like you've already got that mindset. I'm going into the top 8. I like that. I appreciate it. Okay. Okay, right. Does anyone else want to get any mustache relevant jokes out before we start? Okay, just you open forum. You got.
Hey, Will, I don't know if you heard this. I mustache you a question too.
Cool. Yeah, keep going. Okay. And the thing is, I love it. I feel like I've lost a part of myself. Okay, it's too soon, too fresh, too raw, everybody. So I'm going to kick off with the first question of tonight. Obviously, MTGO Masters, we've kind of changed it up a little bit. You get one go at a deck, and once you've used that bullet and it's in the chamber, you fire it up. You cannot use it anymore. You know, how does that affect you going into this week? How did you utilize that to your advantage, knowing what everyone else has already played once, but also yourself with your deck you played last? How did you come up with your deck this week? And let's start with Jake, because you're next to me. That side, Jake.
Yeah. So I would have run back Red Black Scam if I could, just because, especially because Carmen and Reid had both played Yawgmoth, which is kind of Scam's worst matchup. So instead, I played the most Scam adjacent deck that I could within the 28 card restriction in the Esper Goryo's Vengeance deck. That is also still a Grief Ephemerate deck.
You just have to play Grief in all formats. I appreciate it. I love it. Okay, Let's go over to you, Reid. How did you get on this week's deck?
Well, I basically knew I was going to have something with expressive iteration in my roster, for one of the weeks, because I love playing with that card in any format where they let me play with it. And, blue and red there's a lot going for it in Modern right now, and then doesn't overlap with, a lot of my favorite Jund cards, which I'll save for the key moment later in the season. But yeah, I ended up picking Izzet Wizards among many different Izzet choices. Izzet Wizards is really fun to say, and it gets to play with Flame of Anor and some other cool stuff, and just like kind of an alternative take on the Prowess, Murktide family of decks.
Yeah. It's like a nice blend in it. I think like Elliot Dragons kind of played it quite a lot, especially at like high level tournaments in Europe. So it's really cool seeing you pick it up. Let's go across to you, Luna. How do we get on this? Well, let's be honest. This is the deck everybody's talking about. I know me and Anu were messaging before the show and all last night talking about this. So how did we get on this deck list, and what is it?
Yeah, so I had a really hard week of prepping. Vintage 64-mans are out, so I was doing that all week. I really like blue this iteration, so I was thinking about playing a blue-based Modern deck. I was actually on the same deck Reid was going to play because I really like that style of deck. But when I was flipping through deck lists, I saw a really, really sweet combo deck built by a master deck builder. So, how do I say no to that?
It looks cool. And going from what you had to try and up yourself from last time that we saw you, because that the loam deck would look really, really cool. And obviously you managed to take that pod down. So hopefully maybe this is going to get you into that top 8. Last up, Carmen, talk to me about this deck. How do we suit on this one? Realistically, I told you before this, I'm looking for a new Modern deck, and I kind of like this list. So sell it to me. Come on, tell me, why should I play in this deck?
So I brought the mono black cofferless coffers deck. I think we've seen a lot of the South American Magic players having a good bit of success on MagicOnline with it in preliminaries and challenges as of late. I really like how it is able to attack a lot of the Leyline and Scion of Draco decks. And I think any people who are maybe trying to play something like Rhinos, this is a pretty reasonable choice. There's not that much card draw in the format outside of the card The One Ring right now. And this deck is really good at kind of just breaking people down to very few resources and then being able to top deck out of it, sort of Jund style. You don't quite have the clock of something like Tarmogoyf, but you do have the redundancy to have a pretty good game against the other Grief decks, which made me like it this week.
Very cool. One thing I think just as you said that, I need to fact check myself on this, but I don't think anyone's actually registered Leyline the Guildback Sign Draco deck in this event yet. So that's interesting. But the next question is coming from Anu. Fire, Anu, go.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say last week we talked about Leyline and Scion in like all sorts of decks, including Tron, which we laughed at, but it almost top-aided a modern challenge over the weekend, which was horrifying to my surprise. Here, my question's going to go out to Luna here just a little bit. I mean, we've got a really, really interesting deck here that probably hasn't really been seen too much. In fact, I'm going to ask Jordan if we can somehow get this on the screen here to talk about a little bit. But could you describe your deck to me and exactly what it is trying to do? What is the idea behind it?
Well, you just want to mill your deck using Altar of Dementia and Lamplight Phoenix. So you run a lot of the mana cyclers, which each of them can feed enough for the collect evidence for. This also features a Dead Gone, which is nice because it just adds to the converted mana cost cards so you can pour into your graveyard. So I think ideally you want to go turn 2 Altar and a turn 3 Lamplight, and then you already have a collect 4 evidence card in the graveyard that you can just go ahead, sack your Lamplight, target yourself. As long as you keep hitting cards and you can keep chaining them, you can effectively mill your whole deck, which kind of turns back to your opponent. Now you have all this food in your deck to feed into the Phoenix. You can start sacking Altar of Phoenix, targeting your opponent, and then mill their entire deck. So then when they go to their draw step, they lose the game.
Yeah, I noticed this list in one of the like the deck lists that were uploaded, and apparently it has not 61 cards, not 62 cards, but CFT Sock 3, the creator of this deck, the CFT Sock special, 68 cards, which I think I also remember as the number of cards in their standard deck from the 75K at MagicCon Chicago. So this is a very, very exciting list. I'm gonna be honest, I'm really looking forward to how these games play out. Sort of right in my wheelhouse, and I'm kind of curious. This is open mic, really short, but does anyone else have any thoughts on this deck list? Reid, Carmen, or Jake?
I would say that I'm happy that I get to watch it before I get to before I have to play against it, because that explanation from Luna was helpful for me, because just trying to parse everything this deck could do based on seeing it on paper is pretty challenging.
Yeah, at a glance, it looks like it can mill like 105 cards in a single game is the max. So, like, I would guess that adds up to decking most players in a normal game of Magic. But I think one of the really cool things, and you touched on this a second ago, Anna, but one of the coolest things from the current era of Magic is exploring the range above the minimum deck size, like for reasons that aren't Yorion or making you do it like Battle of Wits. Really figuring out, okay, no, whenever I have so many good cards, what actually, when my power levels flatter, what is the correct mix of lands and spells? What is the raw quantity of resources I need to win the game for something like this, which actually just needs a higher number of spells in its deck to successfully mill itself and then mill the opponent? I just think this is so cool to think about, and it's awesome to see these sorts of decks popping up.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love this new generation of deck design that we've seen. Just lots of like variety, the standards from way back when no longer really apply, because I mean cards are different nowadays, and so I think that's pretty incredible. All right, moving along. Will, do we have any other questions, or is it almost time for some Magic? I'm getting
antsy. One last question. It also, by the way, that Altar, it's cool seeing the Altar. Let's just go back on that Altar list. It's last time I think we saw it in paper pit up like good performances was when Hodak was around, like the first iteration of Hodak. I know Carmen saying like I missed that deck too, Carmen. It was really cool. I remember the first time I saw like the Altar win, I was like, this is mind blowing that I can win through milling my opponent out. So it's really cool to see if we can do it tonight, and potentially Luna, you get straight to the top 8 with it. It'd be pretty sweet. But moving on to my last question. Obviously, deck lists are now live on Moxfield. Shout out to Moxfield. You've all managed to have a look at what everybody's on tonight. What decks do you want to dodge now? What is the deck you don't want to get paired with tonight? Obviously, we know that the pairing's moving forward, but let's start with you, Carmen. Whose deck tonight would you not want to be paired against?
Not want to be paired against?
Yeah.
I think I like most of my matchups I don't feel very good about playing against Luna's deck, just because it does sort of have that blue-white core, which can go over the top of you. So having that sort of combo control, you have to go over the top of me, but you need to respect my combo the whole time, is really tough to navigate. But I've played against the Goryo's deck a lot with my deck, and I've generally think I like my sideboard plan there. And I mean, I think playing a fair mirror against Reid is going to be really tough. Anything can happen, but I generally like the low threat, high cantrip matchup.
I just want to see Eagles of the North hard cast going over the top of you, literally going over the top. That'd be sweet. Going out to you, Reid. Who would you like to dodge tonight? Which deck list do you not want to be paired against?
Maybe Jake. I'm playing a counterspell deck, so a lot of my defense comes in the form of like passing with my mana open and countering spells. But Jake's combo is instant speed, so that just means there's a lot of potential for user error where I can, make a wrong move at the wrong time and get punished for it.
Jake, who do you not want to play against, if any?
I would say that I'm most nervous about playing against Carmen. The card Douthie Voidwalker, my version of Hogak is very good against Goryo's, and I think part of the reason we've seen Goryo's uptick a little bit in popularity is we've seen a pretty massive downtick in the number of Douthie Voidwalkers people are playing. Outside of that, I don't know, the Goryo's Vengeance deck is pretty abstractly powerful, so worst case scenario, I'll just try and make an Atraxa on turn 2 and hope that's good enough.
It's normally good enough in this format without things like Swords to Plowshares. Luna, moving on to you. Obviously, you've got the I'm going to say the spice this week, but what deck would you not want to play against, if any?
I think all the above.
Oh.
Being able to, when you're playing a combo deck with some questionable cards, and your opponent has the potential to just double discard spell you on turn 1, they take your good cards and leave you with the bad cards. I would know. I love brewing bad decks in Modern, and playing against the grief decks are always my least favorite because they just take the good cards. So
the fun place. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, on that one, we're gonna go and move away from this. We're gonna move back to the booth with me and you. So good luck to you all tonight. Hope you have a lot of fun, and we're gonna get ourselves some people moving to our winners pod. Remember, tonight they have already got 50% of the work done. The 2 winners tonight will be moving on to the top 8, which I'm already excited for it, and we don't even know who's in it. And it's just 16 amazing players. Which 8 get to go to the top 8? I don't know. So I don't want to say bye.
You're
to anybody.
excited about that one.